Welcome to this podcast. It's making me thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is episode 179. Today's guest is a legendary actor, producer, and activist. He's a Tony nominated actor, Emmy Award winner, and NAACP Image Award Lifetime Achievement winner. He's a member of the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame. His career spans 6 decades, including appearances in 21 Jump Street, Law and Order, The Commish, Dynasty, Mannix, and of course, he played Joe Temple in 2 Seinfeld episodes, The Couch and The Diplomats Club. Please welcome Robert Hooks. Robert, thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. My pleasure, fella. It's good to see you, man.
Robert, such an honor, such a legend. Tony talked through a few of your key roles, if you will, but you've had hundreds of them. Incredible. But this is a Seinfeld podcast, so take us back. It was
Right.
October of '94. 28 million people tuned into The Couch.
Oh, yeah.
One of our favorite fun episodes, of course. But tell us a little bit about how that role came about. Obviously, you were well established into your career, but would love to hear how you got that role of Joe Temple on season 6.
I'm never really happy about when I'm offered a sitcom. I've just never been into it. But Seinfeld was one of my special shows. So Larry David called me, for crying out loud, and asked me if I'd come in and meet with him. And I don't know if Jerry was there, but I read the script and I was on. I said, no, let's do this. Let's do this. It was just a fun time, absolutely fun time. I think Larry directed this episode, I believe. I'm not sure, but he was there. I mean, we were. He and not Jerry, but Jason wanted to know about my theater companies back in New York, and I spent most of my time talking about the Negro Ensemble Company and the Group Theater Workshop in New York. And when we got to do this piece, it was so much fun. I couldn't wait to get to work, and that I've never felt like that doing a sitcom. And I've done some sitcoms, but the Seinfeld concept of the script, the story was just so fascinating, and I couldn't wait to do it. And we started it, and Jason and I had a ball, and I had a very dear friend of mine who's gone now, Denise Dawes, played my wife, and The Couch, the first one. I can't remember too much about the second show, but the concept is just wonderful, and I enjoy doing it. And my son, my younger son at the time, when he heard Seinfeld, he thought, "Oh, great, Dad's going to do Seinfeld." And it was just a great ride for me to do it with Jason. All of my stuff is with Jason and my family in the show. But what a crazy idea! What a crazy idea! Jerry talked him into going. He said, "You don't have to read the book. Get out of here. Just get to rent the movie." Breakfast at Tiffany's was the movie, and he came to rent the movie. And I had gotten the last edition, the last copy, and he kind of looked at the computer and found out where I lived, because he had to see the movie because they had a book report coming up. And I get this buzzing on my door. Who is this? My daughter and I getting ready to see this film, and it's him. And I invite him up, and it was a trip, man. We had this brand new couch, very comfortable couch. He went to sit down on the couch, and he happened to be sitting in my daughter's place. And she goes, "What are you doing?" So I had to move him over and all. He says, "Hey, you got some peanuts? You got whatever." But we had a ball. I've done a lot of acting on television, but it's hard for me to recall episodes of anything, really. I mean, uh, but I do remember us having such a great time, and the story is he spills some grape juice on the couch, and all hell breaks loose, and he was just he's got such a deadpan comic thing going for him. He's just too smart. for work
Yeah.
as it relates to character and stuff like that. So I just had a lot of fun. It was a long time ago, so please don't ask me too much about this story.
Sure. No, I mean, you just recounted it perfectly. I mean, that was incredible. That scene, how you described it with the grape
Uh,
juice and everything else,
Funny as hell.
so good.
Funny as hell.
Yeah. I'm actually curious, and maybe this you may remember as it pertains to Larry David. Well, he probably felt like he was directing. I'm sure from what we heard him, he's a showrunner. He also wrote that episode.
He was around all the time.
Yeah,
Too.
yeah, and the fact that he called you, so there was no actual audition. He just offered you the role, right? Is that
Yeah, I was working like crazy in the industry, and as I said, I don't do much sitcom, and I think he probably had me in mind or something. So
right?
I called my agent, and my agent gave him the number, and it was fun talking to him. I couldn't say no after I read the script. Couldn't say
Right, right. And it sounds like from what you describe, but maybe you can touch on. I mean, this is season 6 of Seinfeld, so it had been in its peak for sure. Um, you were a fan of the show outside. I know it sounds like you weren't big on sitcoms per se, but Seinfeld was obviously on your radar, and it was one of
no
your favorite
question,
shows.
no
Yeah,
question. Right? No, it was and I felt the same way about about certain other Star Trek. My son was younger, and my agent called, and I'm not a Star Trek fan. I just it was okay, but I never thought I'd get a chance to act on in it. And my son heard me talking to my agent, and he heard Star Trek, and he went running through the house. Dad's going to do Star Trek. So I said to Steve, my wonderful manager, who I was on the phone. I said, "Well, you heard that, so we're going to have to take this job, right?" And that was kind of the feeling with Seinfeld when I heard they wanted me to do the show, and then Larry. I think I had met him before. I think I had met him before. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, and
But no, it was fun, and again, the show was one of my favorite shows. I didn't watch all of the episodes um, because I'm not into watching, binging on shows. Uh, Binging wasn't even a word back then, but it is now. But no, it was fun, and I was, of course, a lot of the people that I meet when I go across the country. That's one of the first shows that we saw the couch, we saw you Seinfeld. A lot of people, needless to say, you guys know it. You're doing a podcast on it, which I think is a great concept. But people remember my Seinfeld more than they remember my NYPD, and I was one of the stars, and we ran for 3 years. But that was, of course, a long time ago. But they remember Seinfeld, and that feels good when people remember the things that and Seinfeld's a great show. What can I say? Um, I also did Friends. I never saw it. I don't even know if they.
really,
Yeah, I did Friends. I don't think that I had problems dealing with the director.
hmm.
That's one of the reasons I don't care that much to do sitcoms because no, I mean, look, people want you to do things, and I say I can't do that. You know, no, you mean you're no. You asked me to do this role. Let me do it. I'll make it funny, right? But I'm not going to say that, right? And that was one of the problems I had early on with sitcoms, not just sitcoms, because directors want to give you readings and things like that, but none of them dared give me a reading. But they talk you to death about the character, and I just don't want to go through that. But I didn't have that kind of problem at all with Seinfeld.
Yeah, and I think that comes from Larry David. He had the respect to call you directly. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. People remember you. I mean, that's why we're doing this podcast.
Mhm.
It's a celebration of the guest stars, and I think that's what separated Seinfeld from Facts of Life or Head of the Class or 227, all the other sitcoms you were on.
Yeah, yeah.
They let the guest stars shine. It's funny you mentioned Star Trek 3 that you were in with a young Phil Morris who went on to shine as well on Seinfeld as Jackie Child. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well,
Well,
yeah,
I knew his dad very well. I know
yeah,
him
exactly.
because I know his dad. Yeah.
Exactly. So and he's forever known because of Seinfeld. So yeah, that that role you brought, it's fun, so funny you met the show was called The Couch, and I didn't even what you were just talking about it. I didn't even think about your couch. You know,
Yeah,
Poppy peed on Jerry's couch, if you remember.
right. I
I,
remember that.
I didn't even think about your couch. Yeah, it's a
This
great
is
title.
George Costanza spilled grape juice on my brand new white couch. I mean, it was a mauve, what mauve, but the off-white, eggshell white, and he spilled grape juice on the couch, and that just my wife comes in and my daughter goes crazy, but yeah, it was the couch was my couch in my apartment where he was invited up to see breakfast at Tiffany's,
Yeah.
and came up and spilled grape juice on my brand new couch. It was funny.
Yeah.
Funny
Incredible.
show, funny show. He
Incredible.
was wonderful too. I really liked him. Uh,
Did
because,
you ever work with him on theater at all? I know he talked to you. Sounds like about your theater company. I know that Jason was big in theater. Had you ever worked with him on stage?
Never did
Do you
anything
recall?
in theater. Never did anything in theater, and I think that was the only thing we ever did together as actors. But a nice man, needless to say, an extremely talented character, and that character he just owned it. Uh,
Right.
he could do almost anything and make you laugh.
Right. Did
Yeah.
so did you know that there was going to be the second episode?
No,
That they
not at
just
all.
same thing happened. Larry just called you again. Is that how the second
No,
episode
no,
came about?
no. By that time, my agent was, I mean, my manager was on the phone. But I think Jerry called me because Larry called because he wanted me to do the show, you know. But no, the second one, I don't even remember. I know
So,
that I didn't let him in or something like that. He hit
so
the buzzer, and I wouldn't let him in.
Robert, here's the irony of the second one. There's kind of a tie-in with you a little bit here. Obviously, you're in the show, but um, Jason Alexander, refers to Tom Wright, his coworker. He says, "Oh, does anyone ever tell you you look like Sugar Ray Leonard?" Now I know I did a little homework on you. I think
Mhm.
you were pretty tight with Sugar Ray, right?
Yeah,
Didn't you
we
see
were
his first fight? He's
his
from
very
DC, I
first
think.
fight in Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah. No, he and I were good buddies in his early day, and then he went through the roof. And he was all over the place, and we didn't spend that much time together. But no, I was there. I was there. I'm trying to think of who was with me. Harold Bell, I think, took me there. But Sugar Ray's first fight.
Yeah. As fate would have it, Sugar Ray was supposed to be in that episode, your second episode, but they couldn't get him.
Really?
You probably could have made that phone call, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Should
right.
have asked you.
Yeah.
I could. They should. Well, somebody should have let me know that. I didn't know it when we did the show. And again, I can't remember too much about what was it called? The ambassador, not the
The Diplomat for
diplomat,
Love.
Yeah,
Long
I don't
story
know.
short, George was looking, he wanted to prove that he had a lot of black friends, so he went back
Right,
to
right, 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 right.
England.
But again, I feel kind of silly talking about a show that I was in and really enjoyed, but can't tell you too much about the story itself. Uh, so I don't even. I guess I can't remember that one at
Yeah,
all.
you may have only been in that episode for that because your scene was like you were just kind of by yourself talking into the
Oh
intercom.
yeah, yeah, right, right. No,
Wasn't
and
that
there was and that's one of the problems I had with that particular episode because I had another scene or a couple of other scenes, and they cut
oh
them.
interesting. Oh, interesting. In the
Yeah,
second
they cut them.
episode. Okay,
They cut them
okay.
out, and I don't know. It's I don't know why, but that's why I can't remember too much. I didn't do too much in
Right.
the show, but the first
Yeah.
one, the couch, was a lot of fun. A lot
Well,
of
yeah, I'm curious. So we touched on Larry a lot actually, and Jason, who most of your scenes were with. Um, did you have any interaction with Jerry or Julie or
No,
Michael while you were there, or was it
no,
mainly
not at
just the
all. Everything happened in my apartment. Everything happened in my apartment. George comes to my apartment and the stuff that we did with the scenes that we did. So no, I didn't see anybody. I did, and one I did see, when at the where we shot it, the offices and all. I think I was. That's one of the times I got a chance to say hi to Larry. So I guess he didn't direct the second episode, but I can't remember too much about it, guys. Um, um, no, it just doesn't.
Well,
And
Robert, it's only
not only that, I'm getting old. So
it was only 30 years ago, Robert. No big deal.
30 years
Um,
ago.
but listen,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
how old am I?
well,
No, you know what happens over the years. I'm 87 years old,
God
guys.
bless.
You know, so if I could remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but it's hard. It's hard, man. And I'm saying to people, you said, well, you don't look 87. I say, well, sometimes I feel 100 when, but no, after a while, you just lose that stuff.
Yeah.
You'll
Well,
know when you get to be my age. No,
listen. I mean, you've had a hell of a career and a hell of an impact on people in this country, and I'd be remiss, you know, you dedicated your life to civil rights, and it's actually tonight they're actually playing at Rickwood Field a tribute to the Negro Leagues.
I know.
Um, that's got to be pretty special feeling to see that. I know Willie Mays just passed away last night. I don't know if you had any interaction.
I had a chance to meet Willie back in the day. Um, Nobody could catch a baseball like he could. I mean, nobody could do what he did. And we'll miss him. But 93 is a nice, long, successful, and wonderful life. So I celebrate him. I don't mourn him. I did get a chance to meet him and with some other players. And again, I can't remember the event. But yeah, that's going to be a good. It's a documentary. The one, the Black the Negro League.
Yeah,
It's
they're
a,
doing a documentary and they're playing a game as well tonight. So it's a pretty special week.
yeah, yeah. I think we're recording it. I think Lori, my dear wife, she does all this. I don't do any of this. Yeah,
God bless.
I haven't done this, and I must confess to you, I thought we were just going to be interviewed on and not video. But then I realized after I read this, I said, wait a minute, I think I might be on camera. But anyway, it's okay. I mean,
Yeah, hey,
you guys are great company.
your wife said you were so good looking, we had to put you on
Oh,
camera. You know what I
please,
mean?
please, yeah,
So
right. No,
you've worked with some, like you mentioned sitcoms, but you've done a ton of movies. You worked with some really funny people. I know Seinfeld's part of that, but Richard Pryor is one of them, right?
yeah.
What
Well, we did. He when we worked together, we worked together in a drama, and he
Carter's Army, right?
yes. I mean, it was a serious army picture. There were some funny scenes with him in it, but no, there were a lot of wonderful, great actors in um, that particular show. And Stephen Boyd. The irony is Stephen Boyd and I got to be good buddies because he was Carter and he was a health nut. He would get up in the morning and he would run and do whatever. And we finished shooting this movie, and a few months afterwards, I think he died running. He just had a heart attack. But no, Richard, it was fun working with, but a lot of guys, Rosie Greer, Billy D. Williams, Glenn Turman, Moses Gunn. I mean, you name them.
Yeah.
Because these were black soldiers, and it was fun. That was fun. But
Wow.
working with Stephen Boyd was special.
Yeah, he passed away at 45, Stephen Boyd.
Yeah,
That's
and I was surprised because he was such a health person. He talked about how he did this and he did, and all of a sudden he dropped dead. It's but a wonderful man, good actor.
yeah. I mean, you just went through a long list of some of the greats, and then Chris touched on some too. I mean, your career is legendary, spans 6
I've been
decades.
doing it. I've done 8 Broadway plays, guys.
Incredible.
I'm from the theater, and then I got a television series, and then I was the workingest actor in New York at one point. Uh, I don't think you'll ever meet an actor that's done 8 Broadway plays. Now, as Barbara Streisand would say, some of them were just, it lasted for a couple of weeks and it was over. But I've done a lot, and then I started producing plays and building theater companies, and of course, my work with James Baldwin and Martin Luther King and people like that um, was my introduction to civil rights. This was back in the early '60s, and we used to, the organizations that were working in the South, NAACP and SCLC and CORE and those organizations. They all had to raise money to do their thing, but they would come through New York to raise money, and people like James Baldwin and Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier, not Sidney, but Sammy Davis, would do benefits. And Jimmy Baldwin, who was a dear friend of mine, would ask me to put together a group of just a few actors, Diana Sands, Ed Hall, I think Godfrey Cambridge was one of them, and we'd go to these benefits and read pieces of Jimmy's book and some materials, other poems from other writers, and we'd raise money, and we'd go out and we'd get checks from the patrons, and sometimes I'd do a double dip on them. I said, "No, you gave me a check, right? Yeah. Well, I could use another one, That's how we raised money for the civil rights movement at these receptions, these benefits, and that was most of the things that I did. I didn't walk a lot. I did go to Martin's to go to the March on Washington and all, but no, all of my life I've been into the neighborhood, civil rights, equality, and stuff like that. My acting career, the bottom line is I've given back more than I've ever could get as an artist. I've created opportunities for others. This is all in the history books. It'll be in my memoir too. But my whole people say, well, what would you like to be remembered for in your life, in your career? And I think creating opportunities for other people, using my celebrity, my leverage to create opportunities for others. And I've done that. I have 3 major theater companies, and every actor that's out there today doing their thing, including Denzel and Samuel L., came through my theater companies. And my thing is giving back. And that's, my sister said, you could have been a millionaire. I could have been a lot of things, but I have a mission. I came here to do something. Fortunately, I'm a good actor, and I've been able to prove that. But my most important achievement is creating opportunities for others. It just means more to me. I wish more people would do it, but one of the problems we have now, we have these amazing Black success stories, but nobody's giving anything back, and that always disturbs me. You write a check to the to church and the boys club and girls club. What the communities need is your name, your face. Do something, create something, and it's not about asking you for money. I mean, a lot of people won't return my calls or didn't return my calls because they thought I was going to ask them for something. Well, I did want to ask them for something, but it wasn't money. It didn't hurt if they gave it, but that's not why the community needs you, my friend. They need you because you are a superstar and you can bring people into theaters. You can get kids off the street that might want to be in the arts, but are not, fortunate enough to go to train and things like that. And that was my thing. And I gave back, and I've created 3 major theater companies, and that has created opportunity not just for actors and directors, but for administrators and press people and stage managers and choreographers, and that's what I've been most proud of doing in my career.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, to have a legacy of giving back, I mean, there's nothing more fulfilling than that. Um,
It feels good. It really
yeah,
feels good.
and it's funny you mention that. I'm thinking back to some of your generation, whether it's Jim Brown or Kareem, just to go to the sports realm. I feel like, to your point, they always had a problem. Like Michael Jordan didn't get involved; he didn't give back, right? I don't know if it's a generational thing or what it is, but I feel
Well,
like your generation did that,
yeah.
and hats off. I mean, because you paved the way for all these guys.
Well, I feel good about my abilities to do that, bring people together, find the right scripts to do on stage, and then hire the right people to do them. And creating opportunities for others is really basically the bottom line. And moving their talents, the stories that they have to tell, into the community by way of theater. And I think theater has been the saving grace for the Black community in this country.
Incredible. Just yeah, I mean, again, like Chris said, just incredible career, and the giving back is important. And it's interesting just to tie it back to Seinfeld is that that's kind of what Larry David's all about too, is
I
loyalty
know.
and giving back, and the fact that he called you up and offered you offered you the role without he like you said, he wanted you, he had you in mind, he had the respect to call you, and then bring you back. You've been on so many things. You just went through, just in activism and just what you did with the theater companies, but just so many different shows and everything. You mentioned all these sitcoms, you didn't remember them, and maybe
Right?
you weren't looking forward to them, even perhaps somewhat. But with Seinfeld, you know,
That was
what do
special.
you? Yeah, exactly. And what if you had to pinpoint it? Like, what made it? What made it different? Was it just the way they were on set? Was it Larry? Was it
Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld. That's what made it special. These guys were just so talented. They could do anything with a line, with a storyline, and make you laugh. And Larry, geez. Now, I talked to Larry. He wanted to know a little bit more about the Negro Ensemble Company and the things that I've done with the young kids and on the streets of New York and stuff like that. Because the first theater company that I started, even before the Negro Ensemble Company, I started in my apartment building on 28th Street and 10th Avenue with young kids off the streets, young kids that would never be able to act or write a play or a poem or dance if we're not for a place for them to train, because a lot of them didn't even finish high school and were out in the streets basically. So, and this was very successful, and it led to the beginning of the Negro Ensemble Company. And that group theater workshop, which was a training program, we folded it into the Negro Ensemble Company and made it the NEC training program. And most of the kids from the group theater workshop became professionals. A lot of them, not most of them, but a lot of them became professionals at the Negro Ensemble Company. So it was a wonderful experience, and we're talking 1964, 5, 6, 7, because that's when we started the Negro Ensemble Company. But I produced my first play in 1964 with Edward Albee, incidentally, who you must know, who's one of the great writers of all time. And in Leroy Jones's play called Dutchman. And I starred in the play. And Edward Albee, a lot of people don't know it. And I've had my discussions with the Black elite saying, oh, no. And I said, no, 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 no. A white guy produced Leroy Jones's first play. I was in it, so I know. And Edward Albee had a play on the bill as well. Um, but that's basically, I started very, very young, um, and was very fortunate to act a lot on stage. And then, Otto Preminger saw me in a play, and at Sardi's that night, opening night, um, Vince Sardi brings a phone over to the table. We're sitting having champagne and waiting for the reviews to come in. And I remember going into Sardi's early on and I'd see the phone being taken over to people's table. And I said, "Oh, okay." All of a sudden, Vincent Sardi walks over with the phone. I think he's joking me, right? And I said, "Hello," and the voice says, "Robert, this is Otto Preminger." And I said, "Yeah, sure, it's Otto Preminger." I almost hung up on it. I thought they were just jiving me, but he called me and he offered me a role, a starring role with Diane Carroll, Michael Caine, Jane Fonda, John Philip Law, and Diane Carroll. And Diane Carroll and I was Diane's, lover in the film. It was called Hurry Sundown. So I'll never forget that night at Sardi's, thinking somebody was playing a joke. Even after he told me who he was, I thought they were joking. The next day, I was sitting in his Paramount office, and I got the role. And he made it clear to me. He said, "This will be the first role where a Black actor, or two Black actors, because they were Diane Carroll and I, above the title of the film." Sidney Poitier wasn't even above the title of the film at the time. So I was the first Black actor to be billed above the title of the film.
Wow.
And it was a great experience. We shot it in Louisiana, and the Ku Klux Klan was all over the place. Stories in the book, but it was quite a time, so I've done movies with Sidney Lumet, and Otto Preminger, and some of the greats.
Incredible. Yeah, you go down the list. James Earl Jones. I mean, Sidney Poitier. You mentioned.
Sidney
Um,
Poitier, you say Sidney. Sidney and I were very, very, very close friends. As a matter of fact, his last movie, I was in it with him, co-starring in it with him. It's called Free of Eden. And we've been friends for 50 years or more. He has 5 daughters, and I have 5 sons. He would say, I say, "What's your secret?" I said, "Well, I'll tell your wife. I'm not going to tell you." But anyway, he passed recently, and they're giving me the International Black Theater Festival, are honoring me with the Sidney Poitier Lifetime Achievement Award. That's coming up sometime later next month, I think. But it was something. His relationship, Sidney and I. So we finally did a movie together, because I would say to him, "Well, when the hell are we going to work together?" And, "I don't know." And I get a call from him one morning, actually, early one morning. He said he was on his way up to Toronto and producing and directing a movie with his daughter, whose name is also Sydney. She spells it with a Y. And would I come up and do the co-starring role with him? So that I got a chance to finally do a movie with my dear departed friend Sidney Poitier. So that's a dream come true as well.
wow. Well, it's been a dream come true to have you on this program. I mean, you mentioned your children. Remy, the daughter, would love to hear about that interaction with her, Diana Theodore. The Joe Temple's daughter in the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
episode.
yeah, yeah. Wonderful.
Uh,
Who was that young actress?
yeah,
Yeah.
Diana Theodore. You guys just had a nice You mentioned you have 5 sons, but I tell you that you had a little good father-daughter chemistry
Well,
there.
I have a daughter as well. As a matter of fact, my first child was a daughter, so
Oh
she's the
wow.
oldest of all the
Oh,
kids.
okay.
Wow.
This young girl that played my daughter, I couldn't remember her name, but she was just adorable, adorable.
Yeah.
Did you tell me? Did you say what her name was?
Yeah. It was, Diana.
Diana Diana Theodore.
Diana Theo. Oh,
And
okay,
she
okay,
says,
yeah, yeah,
"Daddy, that man is here again." George.
You tell her, "Get upstairs. Get away from George."
I remember. But yeah, she was just adorable, and so it was her, and then her mother came in. It's funny, her mother was out working, and we were sitting and watching the movie, right,
Yeah.
with
Great.
George, right, and this is before he spilled it. Anyway, so she walks in. Denise Dowles is a lovely actress, and she's gone now too. But she walked in, and she walked in from work, and then all of a sudden she went, who is that? And so that George had to, it was so funny
She
seeing this white guy sitting on her couch.
cheating on his test.
It was so funny. It was so funny. The look that she gave him. Uh, Maybe that's why he spilled his drink on my couch. Oh, it was so much fun. I had so much fun doing Seinfeld. I
This
really
was
did.
yeah, this was so much fun too, Robert. You mentioned twice, I think that are you in the midst of writing a memoir, or is it
It's
out?
written. It's
It's written.
written. My wife,
That
my wife Lori, is editing as we speak. Not
okay.
only that, so the memoir should be done in the next few months. And everybody, has been asking me about the book, the book, the book, the book. Just, just hang in there. It's
Right.
coming. It's big. It's big. And when I say it's big, I mean, I started acting when I was 9 years old, and I grew up in the ghettos of Washington, D.C., 6 blocks from the White House. And my story starts, and then, of course, I, moved from there. And that's when I started acting. I started acting when I was 9 years old. And I didn't know I was going to, but my sister, who was producing the Pirates of Penzance, I was 9, right? And I was running the street, right? She says, "Oh, you're going to do my play?" I said, "You get out of here! I'm not doing no play. My buddies will laugh me off the block, right?" Well, anyway, long story short, I ended up doing the play and absolutely loving it. And I knew exactly when I would go out and take my bows, you'd go out and the people would be applauding. And I said, no, I got to do this. This is what I got to do. And that's began the whole thing. And, I've studied and I've done Shakespeare in the park with Joe Papp. And I was the first Black Henry V, as a matter of fact, in the park. So I've done it all. I've done it all, and swore that I wasn't going to do Zoom. I said, "Nah, get out of here, man." My friends get together and they Zoom, and so they're all Zooming and they're talking about it. I just refuse to do it. I'm sorry. I'll talk to you on the phone. I'll have lunch with you, but I'm not Zooming. I just so you guys got me today, and I'm
Right.
happy. I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's
We,
just fun.
well, we begged Lori, and we knew you'd enjoy it. And listen, you're a part of history, Seinfeld history for sure, but you are part of American history, my man.
I appreciate
We
that.
can't thank you enough. The words you said to give back. I don't think there's anything more meaningful than that. So hopefully, people listening to this tonight take your advice. So
Well, I,
thank
I,
you so
I
much.
certainly hope so. It's important to give back, uh, especially from whence you came. I mean, I know a lot of people, a lot of the success stories that grow up in the neighborhood, and now they don't want to go back to the neighborhood. You got to go back or give back. But anyway, thank you so much for the kind words, sirs.
Yeah. Have a great night. Best of luck with the memoir. Can't wait to read it when it comes out.
Yeah, let us know,
Okay,
Robert, when it's
uh,
available. We'll send the link out for everyone who
and
wants to
I
talk to
will. And Laurie, and there's also a documentary film, a feature documentary film on my life as well. And Laurie's executive producing, one of the executive producers on that. She'll let you know about that as well.
Amazing.
Incredible. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thanks,
It's been a lot of
guys.
fun.
Thanks for everything.
You bet. Congratulations on the show.
All right.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Right.